let's get this show on the road. Do-do-do. Okay. What are we doing today? I don't think we're going to touch the to-do item somehow. I was working on something. Actually, let's have a look at our history. Fix up to-do command, cluster routing. Okay. So we have a single process, and we want. Actually, can I bump that volume down a bit? There we go. We have a single process, and we want to set up a second process and then send messages in between them. So let's just make sure our code is actually working for us. Okay, everything's looking good. And let's fire up a dummy app. Yeah, code's working fine. Now let's confirm it. Sorry, let's confirm it can run and connect to itself. VVV. And it should disconnect, and we get a disconnect. Awesome. So at the moment, if I can remember my key bindings, everything's looking good, code's working. So from memory, what I did last was I wired in a routing table, so I knew where to send a message for an object or an entity. So what I need to do is on connect, I need to update that routing table. And then once I've got that, I need to serialize everything. So we need to go to here. If node is not in self, blah, 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 blah. So we need to work out how we get from an entity address, ADDR, to a hash. Now I should likely have, because I'm converting everything to an entity address here. Syscall. I likely want to put that logic in the entity address, so I only have to deal with it once. So let's define an objects.pipe. My hands are absolutely freezing today, so typing is not going to be the best thing for me. I don't want to call it hash, but we're going to call it hash. So what this is going to do is take the namespace and the instance and turn that into a predictable hash name. Now, from memory, routing hash argo came from routing table. So just copy that out. And we'll go back to task send. I really should have bookmarked this. In fact, I can actually do it on this machine, can't I? Is it shift insert or alt insert? Placed anchor. Awesome. Insert. Still learning. Page up and page down. Okay, cool. So if I go insert, and then I go page up and down. Awesome. So I'm just going to bookmark this for later because I'm going to come back to it. My other machine doesn't actually have insert on it, so that's been an interesting experience. What were we doing? We were going to the top. and uncut that. There we go. Now we're in objects, so we can drop a dot off the input path like that, and we only really need hash algo. Routing hash algo, which funnily enough is only a report hashlib. Hashlib. I think I set it as SHA-256. Or probably SHA-3-256 in fact. Yeah, SHA-256. For no real reason. SHA-3 was available as well. So what we're actually going to do here, di.hash. Or do I call it identity? It goes into a hash table, and this is a DHT. Yeah, I'm going to call it a hash actually. Something doesn't like that. Objects 247. Well, I really should speed that up. In fact, I'm going to quit add that. Ooh, okay. I know what that is. That's a bug I need to fix. Hash algo. We return bytes. Hash is equal to that. And we'll put our initial string here. And we will return the hash digest, which under Linux with hashlib is bytes. So that could be inferred automatically by the return, but I think we'll just be explicit about it in this case. Now, I actually wonder if we want to do predictable hashing. Do I actually want to make the hash that's returned here part of the spec? I'm actually pretty unsure about that, so... Now we've got to work out what we hash on. And this is the difficult part, right? Because we've got two parts. We've got the namespace, and then we've also got the instance, which is fine. Now the namespace, we can predictably turn this into a string, which we can predictably turn into bytes, and that's because the namespace is the module import path. So something like myModule.function or myModule.class. So that's fine, we don't have to worry about that. The problem comes with the instance, and my SSH session just froze. It's been doing that and I've got no idea why. I suspect I'm losing links somewhere. In fact, I can check that. Wi-Fi, callback is buggy, that was probably yesterday. No, that was a couple of seconds ago. And those times do seem to match up when my terminal froze, so we won't worry about that for the moment, but I could possibly switch Wi-Fi off at this point. Okay, so the instance, however, sometimes it's a string. Sometimes it's tuple, but can actually be anything, and I have to convert that to a string, which then has to go to bytes. Luckily, we do have the, I think, and it froze again. Give that a sec. If this becomes too annoying, then I'm just going to switch off Wi-Fi. Okay, we do have the string method, which actually solves this value for us. Now, the reason the instance is not just a plain string is because we actually give the instance to the entity itself. And sometimes it's easier to pass in the identity of an instance is a complex type. So what we're just going to do is, I think we're just going to use string of self, and then we will encode or decode encode to UTF-8. Do we need to? String namespace instance, that's going to have an internal Unicode representation. So if I encode it to ASCII and there is a non-7-bit character, yeah, we'll have to go to UTF-8. Will that handle binary data? Yes, insofar as this function does. Okay, that should be good. Identity. That's probably a better name. Hash, blah, 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 blah. Let's see if this does anything. Ooh, did I introduce a loop? Objects calls in middleware calls, yes it does. I was really hoping that wasn't going to be the case. So I'm going to pull this out. And in fact, you know what? I'm almost at the point where I want to make that a constant. Now if I go, it does remove that, okay. I have to do this in a couple of places now. You know what? I'm just going to make a constant. Let's not be cheap on letters. Now, there's two ways I could go about this, and the easiest way would be from consts. And now I go to middleware. Actually, no, let's just grep hashlib from middleware mesh. There we go. And chuck that in there. Now I could put other things in here for the moment, but I just want to solve the problem at hand first. So edit that. There we go. From const put hash folder. Okay, awesome, and it's abstracted, so I can change the name of the hash algorithm and all my code automatically updates. That's good. Does that fix my problem? No. Okay, fingers crossed. That's looking better. Awesome. That fixes my module loop problem. So let's keep some running notes. What are we working on? DHT table. Why is it swapping like that? I suspect the other end. You know what? Let's go hide this. That's fine. Alright. Working on DHT implementation for hash-based message routing. Message serialization. And what else do we have? I am unsure. Oh, I've got that. Message serialization, and I need the gossip protocol. Okay, cool. Done, 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 and done. So that should hopefully keep me on track. So, I need to add registration. Register remote on remote connect. I mean, I'm all over the place when programming normally, so. Let's see what chat's doing. Not a whole lot today. And what do I have on here? Oh, cheat sheet might be handy to keep up. We'll come back to that later. I'm doing some SIMD work as well. Okay, so let's add that. Where are we at? So I want to HG commit constants, and I also want to add the. No, I'm going to actually record that. And middleware mesh. File. Yes, yes. I'm going to have to update the. No. I just realized I've got that actually in another place, which is the server main loop. Although, because I'm just pulling it, I could just leave that actually. I think I will. Okay, so let's go back to record. File, because we know what those changes are. Move hash address to a new constants module to avoid import. And the SSH session died. So we'll give it a sec. Luckily, having had to work on really high latency SSH links, you just learn to keep on going and fix it up after the fact. But while I'm here, we may actually just turn off that Wi-Fi. There we go. Because I'm pretty sure it's interfering with my routing table just temporarily when it reconnects. Okay, routing. Now I'm going to bring up server. And we're on DHT implementation. So we've got the hash. And you know what, in fact I actually want to test this and make sure it's stable between releases. The reason being is if we've got version 1 and then go to version 2, I want to be able to run version 1 and 2 side by side. And for that we need to make sure that everything is predictable between releases. So I'm going to actually call that part of the spec. And therefore define a test for it. Actually, we'll go into the tests. What type of test is this? This is a unit test. No, test routing. Yes, I do have a test route. No, is this a test routing? No, this is actually a test entity. Okay, so let's create a new Python 3 for reasons that are apparent to me and no one else. Import our test, and we're just going to do something very, very simple here. Test entity address stability, and I think we might use some automated tests for this. So sure So I'm going to have to go off and generate a whole bunch of IDs and run them through this, which is not fun, but has to be done. So from EpicMan course entity ADDR. It should be namespace instance is equal to that e.hash is equal to hash assert, and we're going to have namespace and instance passed in, and we're going to use @pytest rep param. Done. Yep, that'll do. Instances. Oh, that works now, that's great. Bingo, so we're going to call it namespace. Instance. Yep, now these have to be tuples, so that's what I want. And we're just going to dummy up some responses, and we'll actually use the test framework itself to get those hashes. So the namespace, what is the namespace going to be? Actually, I'm missing one last thing, which is hash. And we update that here. And luckily on this one, we don't need, or do we? Namespace type entity, but we don't validate it on input. So I'm going to just fake a couple of things up. My namespace. And we can fill these in later if we feel the need to. Okay, so we've got a couple of instances here. We want the empty, we want instance name. I don't like using my anything. Let's tidy this up. Okay, that's better. So we need that one. We need a complex type that's empty. We're going to put none in there because we can. And I think we'll just use all the primitive types I can think of off the top of my head. So tupleistic and the SSH session first. So it's obviously not the Wi-Fi. So I'm just actually going to restore that if I want to go back to my machine shortly. Good, connected. I think we'll just put up with the Wi-Fi issues or the network issues until I can look into them. I mean, it could even be the router. It's not doing too much. In fact, it's disconnected from that, which is interesting. Oh, because it would have been over the Wi-Fi itself. Okay. No, that's looking fine. Okay. Whatever. So the next one is we're just going to do, in fact I'm going to put that after the tuples. We're just going to do some basic because the lists and everything should basically be compatible. We're just going to do that. 1, 2, and we'll do some mixed types. And there's one other type I wanted to check, probably bytes, honestly. 1, 2, blah blah blah. Socket. That covers most of the use cases. Do make PyTest. This may fail. Invalid syntax. Yeah, I thought it might. Why is that? Because I didn't close that. Done that enough times now, and you'd think I'd catch that earlier, but obviously not. Oh, I thought it was going to run them one by one, I'd have to go off and do it, but it looks like I can just cheat. Recitation, I want the full hash though. I need to. There we go. Now we're going to run them again shortly. Wow, that's even multi-line and everything. What's the best way to pull that out? Just A, then B. Yep. Dash E. Starts with E. Anything. And then has a B, comma, that. That should be sufficient. No. Does that mean I have to go to &1? Possibly. Oh, that's really annoying. Why can't I pull that out? Okay, whatever. We'll just do it the old-fashioned way. 3, and for the moment we're just going to dump these here. I'm not actually really optimizing for programming speed here, so this may seem wasteful and inefficient, but yeah, not really bothering me too much. And we're only going to grab 4. There we go. because once I add these, those fall clean off the board. So now if I go like that, I screwed that one up, but if I go that, this macro support is actually pretty nice. And the in fact, I'll just kill off that one and recalculate it. So D5 SH terminal hang gun. SH terminal hung again. Give it a sec. D5, D5. Up, down, turn around. Not the prettiest output, but I do not really care. I could make that over 2 lines or whatever, or make it fit in a single line, but honestly I can't really be bothered. Considering it's data, I'm pretty fine with that. If it was code, then I'd try and obey that 80 line or 80 character or 110 character limit a bit harder, but not for data. That's just recommending music style. In fact, I want to put Racing Hearts back on because I like it. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's actually kind of interesting. Oh, right, it's actually taking it from the arguments. And then I guess because the tuples and the complex types are somewhat anonymous without a name compared to a string, that's why it's generating them. 7. In fact, I want to see a quick summary of that test, or those tests. Okay, so those 3 worked. Awesome. Let's do some more copy and paste. Oh, that's right, I need to do that. Sorry, it only takes 2 seconds for this to run. Oh, and in fact, you know what? Is that a flag? I'm sure it is. Bin pytest dash L2 1 grep 1. Are you kidding me? Is MedPy just not going via that? No, it probably isn't. I've probably got a specific environment just for testing. Yeah, I do. Okay. Bin pytest. That's good to note, actually. And I could rerun that and search for it, or I could just use the fact that I've got disable warnings, then I've got the ability to search and back scroll with the screen. So, the warnings are basically my to-do list, which is kind of funny. So anywhere where I've got a comment to do in my code, in fact I've probably got a couple here. Yeah, something like that. I actually generate a warning so that it goes to my documentation and it goes to my test suite to give me an idea of where I'm at. And it's much easier than creating bug reports or whatever, because I literally just put a comment in, commit that, and bam, all document tracked and version controlled, which is kind of nice. So when I kill off the to-do item and I remove the comment, it closes it all off in one nice unit. But that's basically because this repository is self-contained. I'm not using GitHub or anything like that. So back to the boring stuff. We are currently making sure that the entity hashes, or what's the best way to put this? I am making sure that when I take the address of something and I hash it to put in the distributed hash table, that is consistent and always returns the same value. The reason I want to do that is because I want to potentially be able to run different versions of this application at the same time in the same cluster, so that I can shut nodes down and start them up without having to shut down the entire, cluster. So I can do a rolling release basically. So for those just joining in, the next couple of minutes are going to be pretty boring, but do feel free to ask questions and I'm more than happy to answer them. Otherwise, enjoy the nice music. Luckily, I've probably still got those macros handy to speed this up. So, 2, 3, 4. Oh, screwed that one up. Oh, we'll just focus on this instead. Let's record a macro. Okay, that's a macro recorded. Perfect. Now let's feed this into here. So my workflow is actually kind of odd and unique. Not that many people are going to care about that, but it's very, very old school. But honestly, I spend more time thinking than I do actually doing, so it doesn't matter really that it's a bit slow. God, it's cold here. Lucky that macro is going to be handy again for us. So actually, I wonder if anyone else is streaming at the moment. Did that again. 1, 2, 3. No, I think I only have 3. No, I've got 4. Okay. I was about to say. It did seem a bit low. And SSH session's frozen again. This is actually really irritating. Oh, God, that 60 frames per second camera makes a difference. I could actually probably use Hypothesis as well, actually. This would be an almost perfect opportunity to do it, except I need the hashes to be predictable. So I guess that's out. Out. There we go. Data-driven design really, really sucks. But God, it's powerful. Actually, I really do need to look into those pauses, because that's irritating the hell out of me. Okay, hopefully got the stupid boring stuff out of the way. And we hit 200 tests. Awesome. Actually, you know what I should be doing? One sec. So I just realised I probably should tweet this out. Not that anyone really cares. It's only me tweeting to myself, but that's totally fine. That's what I wanted. Copy link address, which you won't be able to see at your end because I'm capturing the window directly. I should really change that. Tweet out for now. And while I'm doing that, can I actually change my profile from here? Probably somewhere. Content settings. Yeah, thank you. I'm no longer streaming any of that. Bam. Not a very popular stream, but who cares? That's not why I'm streaming. Wow, 46 minutes and I've basically done nothing. That's great. Well, tests are important. Let's see what else. Let's resend that verification email as well. Still hasn't come through. Okay. Let's get back to that. Bum, 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 bum. Bum, 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 bum. Oh, actually it did update. That is really, really... There we go. If you have a look here... Oh, you can actually... Oh, you can't see my right clicks, that's interesting, but you can see the cursor. Yeah, that did update. Oh no, that's the stream title. Interesting. That works for me. Whatever. Bum 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 ba doo 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 ba ba doo doo doo. Now, if you're really, really astute, you'll notice that if I run this multiple times, the warnings change, which means I've got a non-deterministic bug in my test suite. Let's see if I can trigger it. I've got no idea how I'm going to fix that, honestly. I think it's from a skipped test. Whatever. So I'm just going to check out. Can I hide? No, I can't. That's alright, I was hoping to hide the parts and joins, but that's not going to happen today. Now I've got to get my momentum back. I should never stop. So I'm going to just change that, because that's how I roll. Oh, I might actually have bold support on this terminal. I'm going to put this heat back on my hands. Oh. Because they are absolutely icy at the moment. So we want to get the DHT up and running. Now we know the DHT is working. And in fact, I actually want to go off and verify that. So if I put a breakpoint at task send, let's put a breakpoint here. And we will not do it by the test suite, we'll just go invoke the app directly. So if we go node, we'll do a single step. No, we don't. Next. If node is good, node. So that returned a none. Now is that what we're expecting? Self is none, yes, okay. So I want to look at adr.hash. That's looking good. Print neighbors dot data. Yeah, okay, so as we can see there, that is a list of tuples. The first one being the hash, the last one being the value, because we're using a list to simulate a mapping, because we actually need it to be sorted. And I can't do that with an order dict, because order dict is order of insertion, not sorted. Okay, so that's all good. So I'm going to call that as feature complete. And now the issue is that the routing table does not add new nodes as they connect. So that's a second problem, as we can see here. Registered remote on remote connect. And we're going to have to work out how we test this, because I don't want to have to start up 2 instances and 2 windows every single time. Especially if we want to move quickly on this, because there's a lot of subtlety involved in the network protocol here to make it robust and fail very, very quickly. And we need to take that into account when we're doing this. minute, I'm going to make sure I've got some stuff up. Okay. So let's back out of this. Let's remove our breakpoint. And you know what? I need to do another test. I need to make sure that we never push a breakpoint into production. Yeah. Good, I did take that out. So let's review our changes. Wire up into the... Not a very good commit message, but we're going to live with it. So that's all looking pretty good. That may look really, really nasty to most people, but I've actually gone off and hand verified most of that. I need to find my to-dos here. Test breakpoint. Now this is going to be like a bug. Actually, does this go here? I'm doing source level verification. Examples, bugs. I could call it a bug. It's kind of a to-do item. This might even be a separate... let's just put it here. It's not the end of the world. Test breakpoint. Now, I can't remember if I call out other code. I'll probably do one explicit test bug. Bug file path. PyTest fail. One explicit, so we're not going to be using that. So what we do is we scan the file, build a list, and pass it into pytest.parameterize, which was a very, very clever way to do it. We're not going to mark that as a bug because that is specifically there so I can ignore it as part of the test suite. We're not going to use find bug or find to do. We are going to contain its breakpoints. So I've actually spent a lot of time investing in infrastructure. And that has really paid off, in all honesty. The reason being is it took a little while to get started, and the initial code I was writing was without a lot of these harnesses. But the test suites and the harnesses I need, I'm not going to say they're unique or whatnot, but they took a while to evolve, and maybe it took me a while to realize what I needed. It would have been very, very easy to put everything in place and do test-driven development, but that isn't quite how I wanted. I think I would have wasted more time by doing that and led myself down a couple of straight paths. I wanted to focus on getting code out first, which was a big mistake I made with the previous revisions of this. I mean, this is a 10-year project now. If you don't believe me, then let me show you the commit history. So if we go to the bottom here, 12,000 lines earlier, you can see down there, oh, is that going to highlight? Probably not. Oh yeah. So back in February or August of 2010 was when I committed the license, and that was the first commit, as you can see there. So if you haven't noticed, I'm using Mercurial. That's a hash, and that's the patch number. These are local only. These are global. So if you're communicating between developers, you use that. If you're just working on your local repo, you can just do that, which is a lot nicer than Git. A hell of a lot nicer, because you're not constantly looking up revision histories. You can just do like -3, and go back 3 patches. Anyway, comment info, file line text, good. Now do I print context? I probably don't need to. Scan file. Contains breakpoint. Now the terminal froze again, but that's alright. Bit of plumbing. So we test this. No, we don't. I just realized that doing it this way, the collection this way, means that the amount of tests I've got is actually also non-deterministic, which is not a major problem, but just a kind of an interesting fact there. So, breakpoints. I'm not going to test the test suite, but I do want to make sure that it does pick up 2 particular cases. One at beginning of line and one unexpected indent. Good. That's a syntax error, so I guess we don't need to test that, and we'll run that again. Now that would have just flagged that my syntax is incorrect. Yes. There we go. Index out of range. Match breakpoint. Dot groups. Right. I likely had group selection in there. Fine line text. How do we set .text? Yield a comment file, comment is groups, comment is line. Oh, my hands are really frozen today. In fact, that is silly. Like I'm typing, my fingers are literally not moving, so there we go. Why is that going? Test DNS, breakpoint failed. Now that's interesting. So if I do have a bad breakpoint, it's going to screw up my test suites anyway. But if we have a look here, stuck in the wrong one. We do have our breakpoint test here, so I'm going to call that a win. Awesome. So the nice thing is it'll fail if you're testing locally, but it's not going to kill any pipelines or anything. But if you push it to the release pipeline and the testing returns non-zero, everything's going to fail, which is exactly what I wanted. So we're good. So a slight diversion here, but these are like the last little pieces of quality assurance I need to get in place. So, did I accidentally commit that breakpoint? No, I didn't. Okay. Why is that showing up as... Oh, there we go. We forgot to add test entity. Which means my PRs are likely screwed up, but that doesn't matter. Because no one else is developing, it's just me. Where is that rebuild happening? 16.9%, that's going to be another 20 days to finish. I really am procrastinating today. Can I call that done? You know what? I'm going to say yes. So we're going to have to register remote on Connect. Now this is an entirely separate domain of problems while they are linked. This has several subtasks, so... threads, routing table through to connection manager. I think that's it actually. There's some more gossip related stuff that's somewhat across this. And I could do message serialization at this point so that there's a ping message. In fact, let's add that. And I could add these as to do items, but there's multiple different levels of work that we want to get done. So there's the immediate in this session, there's the things we need to do later, which is a to-do list, there's the things we need to do later and are blockers, which are bugs, and then there's some more long-term projects, which I've got a folder called to do. I may need to change that to roadmap or projects, and I've avoided doing so because I've got to, that gets fed into a couple of different, that directory is hard-coded in a couple of different utilities, so I have to go off and fix that. Yeah, this is fine actually. Okay, I'm gonna have to implement this into my workflow and acknowledge it. Actually, I know how I'll do this. Where is this process? There we go. And that should be there now. Yep. Implement listener. So we actually do have a listener. If we go back here, you will see that I do have port to listen, name of cluster and all these settings, and that we actually do :3030. So if we invoke that, you will see that listening for incoming connections. So that sort of implies that I do have some code that sets this up, and in fact we can see the path here. That is a module that's actually doing that. S to S just means server to server. There's no server to client because that's expected to be implemented by the person or whoever's writing their game. So, what's the time? 3:30. Wow. Get another hour in. Helpers, middleware. It's a mesh, isn't it? Mesh.server to server. Oh, it's right there at the top. So I just realized something. Preferences. That's fine. Oh wow. Browse. Interesting. So I was thinking about changing the music up a bit. No one's watching, so why not? Or maybe this. Yeah, I kind of like this. Just trying to build a programming list at the moment, so. Ooh, I like the bass on this one. You'll have to bear with me on this one. Keep me entertained. I'm looking for a very specific song as well at the moment, so. It's not that, where is it? This is very, very close to it. Let's close that off. Try this one. Oh, so close. We'll give up in a sec, don't worry about it. No, that's not it. Oh, that's not too bad actually. Nope. No, that's already in the list. Actually, I wonder if I've got popcorn. Alright, one more after this and we'll call it a... So we'll call it... I've got jet stream in here. No, I don't. Let's add it then. Oh, why did I do that? Refresh this and we'll start the music back up again. And that one goes to the top. Okay, back to it. So, as you can see here, we've got some code already. There's 3 methods, incoming and outgoing, and listen. Outgoing is invoked by the main loop as a proxy for a task send. So that's outgoing messages from your application which are non-local, i.e. they go into another box. All incoming socket connections call listen, and then it forks off a process for each one that is incoming. And I'm going to hit the concurrency bug I've got in the main loop. So maybe that's a blocker for production. Let's add that to the to-do items. Fix... I'm going to call that a bug. Fix entity concurrency method. So what this bug actually is if I have... We use the addressing format I use. So if I have S2S, where this is the identity, so number 2, and this is the actual namespace, or S2S. And I also have 1. Those 2 can run concurrently. That's not an issue. So if that one's doing, say, .listen, totally fine. If this one's also doing a .listen, that's totally fine. Where the problem lies is if we've got outgoing for con1 and outgoing for con2. Those can't run concurrently because the state or the thing that is, no, I guess you'd call it the lock on it. Yeah, it's effectively equivalent to a lock. But the thread's state is this part here, not the .outgoing. So I need to separate the S2S and the outgoing so that 2 outgoings from the same identity can run concurrently. Although I think I actually implemented it differently in this one. If I go here, oh, it was here. Listen, S2S address. Okay, I did implement it differently. So to work around this issue, and I don't know if this is the best way to go about it, but it's currently working in the code I'm using. This will spawn con1 at S2S and con2 at S2S. For outgoing. Outgoing. So this comes from listen. Let's do that. So the listen spawn's now going, and because they have different identities in the same namespace, they can run concurrently. So that's all good. No real issue there. Temperature is dropping like crazy here at the moment. Okay, so I'm going to call that a low priority bug. That's why it's at the end of the list, so that's good. That's still going. Okay. So in Connect we just slate. And I think what we want to do is, while true, stay connected. Self, await, connect. Once I'm connected. Honestly, I probably want to read the data. The reason being is if I start writing the data and I don't read it, eventually that connection is going to hang up. So receive, and we're just going to use 512. I'm using 512 for a very specific reason, even though it's currently a TCP-backed protocol. If I switch to UDP, MTU is the problem, which is normally 1.5k bytes. However, once you go over the internet, that MTU might actually be less. And even on TCP, I've seen MTU sizes of 1,300 bytes. Specifically when I was doing a Red Hat training, I actually had to manually reduce the MTU to get my VPN packets out because they were being chomped by the network transparently, which was kind of entertaining. And funny enough, it was kind of scary that I was the only person in the room that could debug that. I kind of expected the Red Hat trainers to be able to solve that. The fact they couldn't, and given the course material they were giving, kind of scared me a lot. But that's a completely separate story. So we'll receive 512 bytes because that's pretty predictable. We'll remove the task sleep, which means I can remove this inline import, which I really don't like. So that means the connection is going to stay up, but it also means I need to register the connection to the routing table here, so I'll add a to-do item. Actually, we need to do that on connection. To-do. So this will register the connection in the distributed hash table, the DHT, which I stole from BitTorrent. And we also need to do it on the other side so the two nodes know about each other. And then that should be sufficient to solve this line item here, which is, this entire one, register on remote connect. So to do register connection in routing table. If I can spell correctly. And though it's cold, my hands are freezing, like that's not the reason I'm doing all these bad typos. So, am I going to do it on listen? No, we're going to do it on connect. Here's the problem, right? The remote end is connected, but the remote end might not send data immediately. In fact, if you look at the outgoing method, there isn't actually a sock send at all. And so it may actually make sense to do the registration on the .listen rather than on the incoming. The question is, where is the... So if this exits, what's going to deregister? But that's the exact same problem here. In fact, let's solve it in outgoing first before I forget. So data is equal to that, and the reason we're doing that is because while data, if the remote end hangs up, data will be equal to that, and we will take that with while data. So there's one other thing we need to do here, and that's capture exceptions. So finally, pass. And we'll just make this a to-do item for the moment. Deregister connection. In fact, I think I might know how I'll do this. I might add a, actually I'll type it up myself. I might add a, with routing table.lease con la. The reason why I could do that is because then I can implement it with this with loop and I won't have the nested stuff here. As you'll see when I go try, like that. It'll allow me to get rid of that level of indentation. Okay, cool. And we'll put this in its final location. In fact, I could implement this now. Where are we? We're in the mesh code itself. It's really going to come down to I think I've made a mistake. Register connection, and then we do the lookup, and that returns the connection. No, I've done that right. Okay. Let's go off and implement that. Def lease at context. Come on, SSH session, you can do it. Is it a local problem? The application is responding. Context manager. From context. Lib import context manager. And it's frozen again. There's that terminal, and if I have a look at my SSH connection, properties, capture cursor, yeah, it doesn't appear to be that. I really think it's a remote end. I should really move that as well. And I'll put that to the top. What are you complaining about? Deflace, okay. That's fine. Now do I yield self? I might actually. So try finally pass yield. Why do I want to yield self? Because there's no harm in doing so. What am I leasing as well? So I need the address. And I'm actually going to hit an interesting issue, right? Because I'm going to hit a very, very interesting issue because the address is a complex type. Yeah. So the address, most of the time, but not always, is tuple string int. Except if it's IPv6. And I can demonstrate that here. So socket.socket, socket.af, inet 6. Yes, a is equal to a dot bind 1 3030. Done. A dot gets sock name. So as you can see, it's got two additional fields, which are the flow ID and the flow type from memory. which means if you've got multiple outgoing streams and you want to bundle them for quality of service purposes or firewall purposes, you can. I actually don't know why that's useful unless you're FTP, and FTP as a protocol that was designed should die. Multiplexing multiple things over the one TCP connection is pretty standard these days and well understood. And multiple connection stuff is just painful. Anyway, you know what? I could transform the address into a string and then hash it. Yeah. In fact, why? Node ID. Yeah, we'll call it that. String of ADR dot. Now, the only real requirement here is that it's consistent. So we're currently hashing in 2 places, and we'll have to be very, very careful about that. In one place, we're hashing the entity or the object ID or the entity ID, or the entity address, I should say, and that's completely separate to the node address. Now the node address, or I'm calling it node ID here because node ID is a hashed form of the node address. Okay, that works. Why's that flashing? Okay. That fix it? How's the time? We're using them for comparison purposes, so they're not the same, luckily. But we've got 2 different types of objects that interact with that. Okay, that's fine. Encode. Now, can this be ASCII? Incoming connections can be IP address only because that's what the socket library returns. Outgoing connections may be something different. They could be host names, which means on the receiving side they won't hash identically, so we'll have to make sure that we take care of that. So because of that, I can make that ASCII. Yes, okay. Hash algo. Hash algo. Node ID digest. Come on, SSH. While we wait for that to fix up, there it goes. What are we going to call this? You know what? I honestly don't care at this point. You know what? I am going to care. Okay, so we want to add to ourselves. Node is equal to address. I kind of want to use an entity address here, but I haven't really worked out that implementation detail yet, so maybe a bit later. For the moment, we'll just stick to this. Either way, we'll have to pass an address. No, but then I might be able to use the entity ID, which would be handy because then I won't have to worry about all this stuff here. So we'll add it to do. Update to entity ID when entities are used as network proxies. Awesome. So we yield self, and then finally we delete self. Now the only thing that will make this not work is a sea level exception, which is going to blow up my framework anyway, so this is particularly safe. Let's review the code. Yep. Start it up. Codes, that's a basic syntax check. This is going to complain about anything. Mesh. Startup already defined. Index 4 bytes. Union of int of slice. Because it's a list, right. But I can't make that. It's because it subclasses list. Which is wrong. I should probably be doing key union int. So I do have a type error, but the code still works. I'm just trying to work out if that's my issue. Is that an issue with the typing system, definitions, or whatever? To do presents a key value data store API. This is type issues on key not being int. Okay. So as you can see, this workflow with to-do stuff is actually really super light. I don't have to switch out to a separate program or click on anything else, and very easy to just remove it later. And while I'm at it, I'm going to just make PI test because I don't do this frequently enough. 13 warnings, and I've got a typo in one of them. Ignore entities, done. So we are going to I think I'm just going to do that for the moment. It's not the best, but routing.release. Actually, this is interesting. Outgoing. I can't actually take that lease until after the connection. So that would be wrong. But I can clean this up. Await. We're now connected. So to do items done, we can now just do with routing.lease self.instance. Is self.instance correct? Yes, self.instance is an address, so that is correct. Though I could feed in the object's identity or its address to allow things to communicate with it directly. But that, I have to solve that concurrency bug first, I think. Okay, sock.receive. So now we can get rid of this try finally. Deregister connection, and that's done. So this code looks a bit better. I'm not going to say it's perfect, but I'm happy with it. Just taking a step back to admire it all. Now I'd like to do this with routing lease here, but the problem is that I'd have to manually register them and then I don't see the disconnect. So it does look like it actually has to be here. But that's fine. Routing. this. And you know what? I'm going to type this. Because it may come in handy. I've got multiple different routing table-like things here at the moment, and it's going to get very, very confusing very, very quickly. Let's check if that's happy. Well, I do on line 59 have an issue, so we might have to take a quick look at that. Self.instance. Async sockets. That's definitely being invoked incorrectly. That's not a problem here, that's a problem at the caller side. Self.instance in this case. Is it actually define an object? No, that can't be. Instance is any. Yeah, line 222. So it's definitely a problem at the call side, which is probably entity server main. So apps.append, options.listen, it's in start app, so it's actually back in mesh. Listen hints, string int. You know what, I'm going to abstract this out. I use it in enough places now. Tuple string. Now I could do a search and replace, but I actually need to pay attention that I don't screw this up. So, because not all string ints tuples are addresses. In this particular case, it does look like they actually are, but. Okay, so that's clearer. And in fact, I'll probably move that to the constants because I'm pretty sure I use that in enough places now. I can verify that. Dash recursive, tuple, string, int, and I just want dash. Damn you, GNU. I really hate your short option stuff. Fixed strings. So we will go, no, that's not going to work. I'm just going to call that okay, not worry about it too much. Awesome. Monitoring gossip, I can get rid of these comments as well while I'm at it. And you know what, I'm going to add a constant here because I'm using it enough at the moment. Yes, 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 yes. Done. No. Okay, that's a bit clearer to me now. Reuse address, true. Ugh. It's registering itself. Routing table. So we were here. Now we do an interesting thing down here which when you get an exception, or sorry, when a connection does come in, you get the connection and the address, and the object's identity is its address, and then we pass in the connection specifically. Incoming. That should be remote. No, remote message is fine actually. That's a one-way thing, we don't actually care what happens to it afterwards, so... self dot, we want the identity. Or the address, I should say. Eventually we will want the entity address of this thing, which is sort of the proxy for it. But today is not that day. Or do we? If I want to do this in what I'd call user space, then yes, we actually do. That's interesting. I'm just realizing I can get rid... If I turn everything into proxies, like all socket communications, that would be an interesting paradigm, but I think I'd need to sleep on that to work out if that's what that's actually like. I think that's a problem for another day though. With routing.lease, let's check that the code compiles and that I haven't broken anything, more importantly. 7 errors, okay. Routing table is not defined. This is a routing table. Okay. That's the forward reference. Great. Okay, that'll fix it. Basically, I was trying to use an object before I actually defined it, so if I call it a string, the typing library actually knows what to do with it, so that's kind of nice. It's actually annoying that I can't define a proxy for it up the top here, but whatever. I'm just trying to work out how to debug this now. I did want to do this. Okay, that's good. This was a bit of a hole when I was running my tests earlier, in that one side would hang up and you want to get a message on the other side, and when you're looking at the two logs side by side, it could be confusing. So we are actually getting somewhere. Log data, data. The code's actually almost identical in all honesty. But connection from server or connection. Gonna change that connection to stress port from I don't like that colon. Alright. Just want to get rid of incoming because I'm more interested in the type of connection rather than the direction. Okay, .hex, hang up from client. This is a hard one in many ways. So I'm just checking something. Done. Okay. Connection receive. I actually think that's pretty complete. But how am I going to test this? I need a reference to the routing table. And I can get that from the main loop. But this also needs to get the reference to the routing table. So we're passing that in here and here. But that needs to be passed into the start app, which is easy to do. Lists. What am I calling? Routing. Yeah, I'll just call it that. Routing. So what needs it? Does listen need it? Listen does need it. Routing and outgoing does need it. So nothing invokes incoming directly. Routing, so that means listen needs it. Routing, and we have now technically threaded the needle, which is this. So we can say that's done because that's done and that's done. Cool. Doing some more music hunts. That's all the stuff I've already got on my list. Okay, so we need to confirm this works. From on the right window. Least of all, let's just hope it doesn't blow up. Now that's a good sign, but that doesn't test the invocation from the CLI. And that's important. In fact, I probably need to test that. I already need to test the command line arguments anyway. Do I add that? I think I can actually. I do have a test app. Let's check what that test app does. This song, oh, it's middleware, isn't it? No, where did I put it? Server. I wouldn't put it in there. Maybe I go hunt for that later. But we'll add it to the to-do list. Because I've had the test suite pass, the static test suite pass, the static typing test suite pass, but the program just crashes on startup. So we do need to add that, so don't worry, so I don't forget that. So we were running it's helpers. Dummy app is never awaited. Server to server, unhashable list in main loop. Keyword arg storage, because that's exiting, but that should probably be exiting with none because I don't want to persist. Could not find the task. Oh, that's interesting. That was unexpected. I'm going to be honest, I don't know what's causing that. Could cannot find the task. I want to say that should basically be impossible. But if I do a make pi test, I bet you that passes. Yeah, it does. So this is a classic example of where I've actually broken the code, but the test suite doesn't pick it up, or the static typing. Okay, I need that trace back again. So we were line 290, which should be a task send, and it is. Find tasks. But if that generates a key error, that's correct. So that then goes into here, and then we go down to 294 with suppress key error, but that's returning a type error. Because storage is expecting a string, because that's my database backend for persisting objects, so they survive reboot. And when I designed that, which was one of the first things I designed, it was all just a string or a byte string. So unhashable list, because it's a mutable data structure, that's actually going to really bite me in a number of locations. So what I actually have to do is turn originally I was going to make the databases handle all of that. Which, you know what, I could actually still do. But it does raise an interesting question. If you do pass back a list and it's your object's identity, well, that should actually never change. So even though it's a mutable data structure, the data contents itself should be immutable. I actually wonder if there's a frozen list. I don't want to use a frozen list, but I'm just actually kind of interested now. There's a frozen set. It's not going to do what I want. So there's a couple of things. I can either solve that here, or I can solve it in the persistence layer. The only problem is that my persistence layer for this particular implementation is that. It is literally just a raw dictionary. And I don't know if I want to... How do I say? I don't know if I want to update that wrapper. Well, I suppose I'm going to have to, right? That's a bigger change though. Bugs within bugs within bugs. Let's take a quick break. Let's see what Twitter is saying. Actually, if I swap out of this one into that, and that one stays the same, that's good. Yep, world's still on fire. Okay, I've now come to accept I'm going to have to update the database layer. Just no getting around it. Question is how to do it, and honestly I'm thinking about just calling string on the object. So I have that, that's a representation, so This is where I'm worried, right? And I'll show you what I mean in a second. Okay, now what about the string of that? Okay, that's the same. So if we do object, I want to be able to support arbitrary objects, right? There's a limit to that, of course, but I guess user-defined classes is probably the best way of saying it. The problem with user-defined classes is, as you can see here, there is a hex code. And that hex code represents an address in memory. It may be encoded or some such, but that will change. So if I do q blah, actually, let's do this a different way. Class temp pass. So we've got temp and we've got another temp. And you can see the address is different. So their identities are different. But we don't care about their identity, we care about their contents. And the identity is a cheap way to determine if they're different, right, without going through all the contents. So if I do a string of temp, it's probably going to give me back that. Okay, that's fine. Okay, if I convert all the objects to strings, that means they should be deterministic. And that should be sufficient. Oh, but that's going to require a lot of testing, because that could be a potential source of bugs. So we're going to go into server. And we're going to update dict. Oh wow, this was really just really stupidly simple. All the backend is going to be key value stores. It's actually going to be worth pulling in utils here, I think, so I don't end up rewriting code half a dozen times. It'll make the testing a lot simpler, and if I do encounter a bug, I'll only have to update the one location, so. And this should automatically be recursive. Oops. 1, 2, 3. String blah. Yep. And then if the individual implementations can't take a Unicode string, or Python internal representation of that, they can manually typecast it to whatever the backend specifically requires. And that's useful because the dictionary backend is an internal in-memory representation, and it doesn't therefore need to encode to anything that needs to go onto disk or on the wire. Whereas some of the other backends will accept strings and automatically encode them, and others need a byte string. So it's going to be on a per backend basis, the actual final data type, but the common format for all of those is string. And definitely none of them, apart from dict, will take a complex type, but we already have a problem with dict in that it takes a limited subset of objects. Mainly immutable ones, or immutable ones on the outside. It can actually contain immutable values, but that's more of a Python gotcha and bug. So it's kind of weird. The first level is effective of the data structure is immutable, but the levels underneath that are not, and that's because the identity of the object is the combination of its first level objects. So list list 2, yeah, something along those lines. That's not technically correct, but good enough for this explanation. Okay, what are we going to call it? Honestly, I think I might just call it make key. And we're just going to make it return a string. Port. Done. What does that go? 2 blank lines. Just making sure nothing immediately pops out. So we'll start with get from utils import make key. Now I just want to double check I've got the spelling of that right. Good, unused. This is going to be somewhat wrong. Can already see a bug. Okay, make key is equal to make key super get item. I believe some of the other methods may not be followed via this mechanism, but we only use this and not the other key value stuff, so I'm going to say we're going to be fine. The type system is probably going to complain a bit. Get return. del, and then these are just simple sets. And then the backends will convert the values in whatever form they feel. I'm going to have to step in at some point and fix that, but not at the moment, because it comes down to the serialization library I end up using, and I kind of want to make that pluggable. Oh, that caught that bug. Int mesh, int logging, server, db int, entry points, helpers, sockets. I need to work out what's wrong with the socket object, but not today. So if I do that, have I fixed the issue? For hint and hints, Boolean is not iterable. So this is looking a lot better. And the reason this is breaking is because I haven't updated the main loop. I don't like doing it in the wrong window, but just fixing this, we should be good. And I really need to fix up the naming on this as well. I'm using multiple different naming conventions. Ooh, apps.append. You are right. Bingo. Okay, bug fixed. So we now should be in a position to debug this indirectly. How? We need a dummy app. We've got a dummy app. When it exits, we can catch that. And inspect the routing table. Sort of. Well, I guess multiple tasks will be running. In fact, I could probably put a breakpoint on the mesh apps and then escape out to the main loop and check the routing table directly. Because the routing table is accessible on the stack a couple levels up. Yeah, that'll work. Okay. But for the moment, I think we're going to finish this up. And we're at 2 hours, so let's make this quick. Oh, now I've got full namespace and make key. So dict definitely needs it. But SQLite actually needs them separate. So maybe I don't need to. Yeah, in fact, I'm going to leave that as is and think this through a bit more. DBM. Okay, so you can see we are doing that here. So we'll do from make key. And I should just be able to repeat that a couple of times. It's looking good. Okay, that's good. So that's now consistent between applications, which may actually make database migrations a bit simpler because we can write migrations that run directly from DB to DB rather than via this translation layer. So you don't have to import the DB library, read the value, then write the value. Diff-get. From memory, I funnel everything via the dunder method, so. And we'll do lightning DB, LM. Key is equal to make key. Key is equal to key dot encode ASCII. Now the type system will complain about this because I'm rebinding something and changing its type. That's one of the things I really hate about the type system. But we will just have to live with it, because it turns things into a naming problem, and naming things is both difficult and error prone. And if functional programming has been really good for showing, like, if you can avoid names, that's better. In fact, I'm interested in what that is. we've seen half a dozen variations on this idea already. Okay. DBE, right. Check our type system. LMDB. Okay, that's fine. Do a test, that's looking good. Make PyTest. I think I tested database backends. Test pop. Okay, so test pop may not actually go DB2. DB is a fixture. What am I testing there? Create database. And this takes a request. Request.param. Param's backend. So backend's DB2 is actually fixed. No, yeah, we did say we could potentially get issues there because I didn't think everything would funnel by the dunder methods, so I was correct. Okay, so we exit out of this. And luckily it's pretty easy to change this item. And we'll just keep on running it until everything passes, although the pop should only do a pop. Now that's even more interesting. Oh, you know why. Wrong implementation. There's some overlaps between del, set, and get, but each one is subtly different. There we go. Actually, you know what? I don't like this. There is a problem here. So if that dictionary is closed, that should actually reset the dictionary. Subtle implementation detail there. Because I'll make everything return a key error, because I don't really want to intercept everything and say, hey, is this open or not, and then return an error. Yeah, I don't want to do that. But by clearing, I should just get a key error for everything, so. Okay, so run that again. I've now gone so totally off track, I can't even remember what I was working on originally. Now I've had another skip test appear. Test breakpoint. I need to fix that. And we're going to do that immediately. That is likely why that's broken. No, still saying it's not running. to do test breakpoint. Okay, PyTest, where are you? You're there, and you're there. It's really concerning. You know why that is? It's probably because it's found no instances. But there was a bug there regardless, so we're good now. Okay, the file exit and lock screen button are almost identical on this machine. Just thinking again. So SQL is the rare exception in that the key can be multi-valued. So it's fine that SQLite does not do any encoding of the value. That is correct. And then these key encodes are on a per device basis, except that they should be Unicode. The reason they should be Unicode is because Python accepts Unicode for internal object names such as UTF-8. So if a non-English programmer is using their native language for function and object names for entities, this is all going to fail. Let's not save that and fix that. So, grep ASCII, everything here. I want a couple lines of context. Search. ASCII UTF-8. I want to check that. I think I've got tabs and spaces mixed up in a couple of files. DBM. Nope, all looks good. Okay, HD commit. Done. So we can now focus on that. But I think that's for another day, so I'm going to end it here. Thanks for joining me, hope you got something out of this, and I hope you enjoyed the music. So I'll see you all later. Bye.